Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something that powers pretty much every app and website you use, CI/CD. It's this core practice in modern software development, and honestly, it's a total game changer.
So let's start with something you've definitely felt before. You know when you get an app update? Sometimes it's amazing. It's seamless, you barely notice it, things just work better. But other times, oh man, it's a complete mess, right? It introduces a bunch of new bugs. So what gives? Why is one so smooth and the other so chaotic?
Well, I can tell you it's not just luck. The secret behind those really smooth, fast updates is this powerful, automated process. The best way to think about it, it's like a super high-tech assembly line, but for code. And it has completely transformed how software gets made.
All right, let's get into it. To really get why CI/CD is such a big deal, we got to go back and look at the huge, chaotic problem it was actually created to fix.
Okay, so before CI/CD, you had this thing that developers called, and I'm not kidding, integration hell. Picture this. You've got a whole team, and everyone's working on their own little piece of the puzzle for weeks. Then comes the day they try to merge all that code together, and boom, everything breaks. It was an absolute nightmare. Finding the one tiny change that broke everything could take days. The new way? It just completely sidesteps that chaos by making those code merges super small, super frequent, and totally automated.
So that brings us to the first piece of the puzzle, CI. You can think of it as this always-on, automated quality checkpoint for the entire project.
Right, so continuous integration, or CI for short, is based on a really simple but powerful idea. Instead of doing these massive, high-risk code merges every few weeks, developers merge their changes into the main code base like multiple times a day. And here's the magic part. Every single time they do that, an automated process immediately kicks into gear.
And this is where you see the huge mental shift. The whole point of CI is to bake quality into the process from the very beginning, not just check for it at the end. We're talking about catching bugs the instant they're written. It puts an end to that classic developer excuse, well, it works on my machine, and it saves just so many hours of that painful manual work.
And here's what that automated loop actually looks like. A developer finishes up a small change and pushes their code. Instantly, a server sees that change, grabs the code, rebuilds the entire app, and runs a whole bunch of tests on it. The result? The developer gets feedback in minutes, not days. They know right away if their change broke something. It's this incredibly fast, constant feedback loop.
Okay, so CI has checked the code and everything looks good. Now, the CD part of CI/CD takes over. But here's a little quirk. CD can actually stand for two different but very related ideas. Let's break them both down.
First up, we have continuous delivery. With this, every single code change that passes all those CI tests gets automatically bundled up and prepared for release. It means the software is always ready to go live. All it takes is the click of a button. But, and this is the super important part, a human being has to be the one to click that button. There's a manual approval step.
And then you have continuous deployment. This takes things one giant, radical step further. It completely gets rid of that manual approval. If the code passes all the tests, the system automatically pushes it live to real customers. No human intervention, no final go button. It just happens.
So yeah, the whole difference really boils down to that one final step. With continuous delivery, the code is ready to ship. It's sitting on the launchpad waiting for someone to give the green light. With continuous deployment, if the tests pass, it's already shipped. It's out the door automatically. So let's just recap this whole thing. CI is your automated foundation. It builds and tests the code. Continuous delivery takes that a step further and gets the release ready to go, but you still need a human to say yes. And then continuous deployment is the full Monty. Total automation, taking code from the developer's keyboard all the way to the user with nobody having to touch a thing.
Okay, so that's the theory, right? But what does this whole automated assembly line actually look like when it's put into practice? Let's look at a couple of real-world examples.
First up, let's take a big e-commerce site. For a company like that, a single tiny bug in the checkout flow could literally cost millions of dollars. So for them, reliability is absolutely everything. So say a developer adds new feature. The CI pipeline kicks in and runs all these critical tests, making sure prices are formatted correctly, that inventory updates work. Then the CD part of the pipeline pushes it to what's called a staging server, basically a perfect copy of the live site for some final human checks. Only when a product manager looks at it and gives the thumbs up does it actually go live. That's a textbook example of continuous delivery.
All right, now let's switch gears and think about the apps on your phone. One of the biggest headaches for mobile developers is just getting new versions of the app to the people who test it. It's a pain, and it's a problem CI/CD is perfectly suited to solve.
So for a mobile app, whenever a developer commits new code, the CI server automatically churns out the new installable app file. Then, the CD pipeline kicks in, grabs that file, and shoots it over to a distribution service, which then zaps it straight onto the phones of the testing team. It completely automates what used to be a really slow, tedious, and super error-prone job.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. But what's the big payoff here? Why go through all this trouble? Let's talk about the incredible benefits and also some of the real challenges that come with it.
And believe me, the benefits are massive. Teams can suddenly push out new features and fixes multiple times a day instead of, once a month. The overall quality of the software skyrockets because bugs are caught immediately. And honestly, developers are just happier. They get to focus on actually writing code, not on the tangled mess of deploying it. It's all about speed and confidence.
But let's be real, it's not magic. You can't just flip a switch. A good CI/CD pipeline is only as good as the automated tests it's built on. If your tests are bad, the whole thing is basically worthless. The initial setup can be pretty complex and takes real expertise. And you have to be really careful because a badly built pipeline is just a super fast way to ship broken code to all of your users. But when a team really nails it, wow. The whole philosophy is just so simple and powerful. Build fast, test fast, deploy fast. You're moving at a speed that would have been completely unthinkable just a decade ago. The whole process becomes this fine-tuned engine, built for nothing but speed and rock-solid reliability. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. When you completely remove the fear and the difficulty of releasing new code, when you can deploy a change instantly, how does that change the way we even think about software? It doesn't just change how we work, it changes what we believe is possible to build in the first place.